Hi, Spartan fans, and welcome into this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aidan Champion. We're going to talk more football today because it is getting closer and closer. Fall camp nearly upon us. Of course, Big Ten Media Days before that. That'll be in Vegas, and that is also coming up. Going to be exciting time, exciting time ahead with Michigan State football. Now just Um, well, season opener August 29th. We're getting closer and always a fun time of year. And that home opener will be part of what I think should be a pretty favorable home schedule for Michigan State. And what I want to talk about today is this home schedule. I think Michigan State lucked out with who they've got at home this year. I mean, looking at the very first three games, just the fact you're at home to start the year, um, the first 3 weeks helps you out a lot, especially before you go head out on the road versus two pretty tough opponents that are rising, expected to rise in the Big Ten with USC and Nebraska. You got a nice convenient bye week in between there. But first three games, Western Michigan shouldn't be a problem. Boston College shouldn't be too much of an issue. Um, Last year, of course, Boston College got the best Michigan State on the road, but this is what I think will be a better Michigan State team. Boston College, don't think they will be improved, had some turnover there. And so Michigan State definitely has to capitalize on that second game. That second game will be big because then you have Youngstown State, obviously should not have any problem there. But you got to take advantage of that first 3 game stretch. You got to start 3-0. And that Boston College game, really the only game where, um, it's more so up for debate. But there is a great opportunity, like I said, for Michigan State to start 3-0. Then you can afford to drop one of those 2 games. I mean, you can afford to drop both of them on the road because then you come back home for UCLA. But UCLA is not an opponent to write off by any means. Ia Maliava, obviously great quarterback. Um, a lot of drama this offseason with him and Tennessee ultimately transferred to UCLA, and that elevated, the outlook for them. Still not The expectations aren't too high for UCLA in a very similar position as Michigan State. Both teams 5-7 last season. Both teams have um, a second-year head coach with their respective program. Deshaun Foster over there at UCLA, and they've done a great job recruiting. But like Michigan State, I think the expectation is that it's going to be a gradual improvement year by year. Michigan State, I think, makes a bowl game. As far as where they go from there, I don't know. I've ultimately set the ceiling for them at 7 wins, but you never know. Anyways, that's another discussion there. But like I said, UCLA in a similar position, but you've got them at home, homecoming, noon game. I mean, you've got to take advantage of that game. The crowd is going to be electric. Going to be such a fun atmosphere for Spartan Nation. Michigan State got to win that one, especially if you don't have a great 2 weeks on the road there with USC and Nebraska. Um, I think the best case scenario for Michigan State with those 2 road games is to split them. I think if you come back home and you're 4-1, you're sitting pretty. Um, you're sitting pretty, and from there, just two more wins to make a bowl game, um, and that UCLA one, you win that, you're at 5 wins. Definitely won. I think Michigan State should win or needs to win, but I do at the same time believe that they will. Um, again, not an opponent to write off by any means. I think it will be a good battle, but I do think Michigan State will ultimately prevail, just given the circumstances that it's at home, that it's homecoming, that it's mid-season, and you're coming back off, being on the road for 2 weeks again, bye week in between there. But I just think this team will feel re-energized coming back home, and the vibes will just be immaculate for this team and for the fan base, the home crowd. UCLA got to win that one, and then you're back on the road again. Back on the road for Indiana. Going to be a tough one. Obviously, Spartans did not fare well in that one last year at home. And then you're back for Michigan. This is where the home schedule doesn't get as smooth as it is early on in the year. Michigan, of course, expectations very high surrounding them. National championship aspirations again for this program in year two of Sherman Moore at the helm. I guess I would say first it would be Big Ten title aspirations um, before you even start thinking about Natty because gauntlet of a Big Ten this season, absolute gauntlet, and we saw that the Big Ten is on a rise with last season. Now you've got the contenders all supposed to be good again, and you've got some risers like ones I mentioned. USC, I think, is rising. Nebraska, I think, is rising. Both expected to have improved seasons. Um, so it's going to be a bloodbath to win this conference. And Michigan, this will be a tough game. One, because it's Michigan, and they're going to be better than they were last year. I firmly believe that. It's going to have conference title implications. I mainly for Michigan, I believe. Um, and so both teams, Michigan State will be fighting for bowl eligibility. Michigan fighting for something a little more than that. And uh, I still think, though, obviously it helps you a ton that it's at home, but rivalry games bring out the best in both teams. Michigan State proved that on the road in the big house last year. There were moments they very well could have changed the outcome of that game. So now you've got Michigan at home, and I just think you're well suited to win this game. I'm not predicting a win. Um, I don't think it's gonna be at all like what we saw 2022 and 2023. I think we're past that. Michigan State now can compete with most teams, and this Michigan game, I expect it to be close like last year. Spartan fans obviously will be hoping for fewer mistakes because that's ultimately what cost Michigan State last year. But Michigan obviously made mistakes in that game as well. Maybe another reason that game was as close as it was. But you've got them in home, and that's huge, absolutely huge. That one, um, I just say, I still say your home schedule is favorable with that game in mind, just because it is at home. Um, And then you've got Penn State 2 games later after going back out on the road to Minnesota. You've got a bye week before Penn State. This is the only one where it's really like show up. It'll be fun to get up for it, considering Penn State definitely going to be a contender again for the Big Ten title, returning a lot of key guys. Going to be just so stacked on both offense and defense. Definitely a team that could very well win the Big Ten. So, it's going to be one you'll want to attend, but maybe one you'll want to leave early. Let's just put it that way. I don't think this game is going to be close. I think Penn State is going to run away with this one. Um, Maybe Michigan State keeps it competitive the first half or so, but definitely don't see the Spartans winning this one as of now. Um, a lot of things could change. We could see a whole different Michigan State team by the time that game comes up than we're expecting right now. But as of now, no, I don't see any sort of upset happening there. But then you're in Iowa City, and then your season finale, technically a home game, Ford Field against Maryland. Maryland not supposed to be any good this year. Michigan State will play them at Ford Field. Going to be a heavy Spartan crowd, although we'll see to what extent, um, considering the fact that it will be 2 days after Thanksgiving. Um, a lot of students will be home for Thanksgiving break. But if there's bowl implications and it comes down to the final game of the year, maybe fans will show up and show out, but way down the road. Really, what the point I'm trying to make here, I think your home schedule is one that you got to look at and be pretty happy about. Aside from Penn State and maybe Michigan, but even then, I think that game could be closer than people anticipate, and I think Michigan State has a legitimate chance of winning. Um, but overall, you gotta love this home schedule. Away schedule, mm, not doesn't look too great. But altogether, not as much of a beast of a schedule as last year. And so Michigan State, I think, that should help them a lot. And I think you easily should win 6 games easily, uh, especially if you get off to a really good start, which you should. You should be coming back home for homecoming at least 4-1. That's how I see it. Um, but yeah, gonna be uh, gonna be some good games to be in attendance for at Spartan Stadium this season. Let me know what you guys think. What you think of this home schedule, and what you think of the away schedule? Would love to know. As always, thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Hope you all had a great weekend and have a great start to your week. Thanks.